Well, it's happening again. Another studio implodes, another roadmap is incinerated, another live service dream turns into a layoff nightmare. First it was Concord, now it's Highguard. And if you listen to the whispers coming out of these studios, the problem isn't the game. The problem isn't the boring loot drops or the derivative hero designs, which I actually didn't have a problem with. No, according to them, the problem is you. We need to have a serious conversation about the state of the industry in 2026. We're seeing a pattern where creators and developers are insulating themselves from reality, delivering products nobody asked for, and then blaming us customers for not opening our wallets, or in this case, donating our time. They call it toxicity. They call it review bombing. I call it a complete failure of accountability. I've been in video post-production for 20 years, and I've seen styles and trends come and go. What I'm seeing here is a refusal to learn. It's a refusal to look at the market, the people who play games, and respect their intelligence. Today, we're going to break down why developing a bad game in 2026 is actually harder to excuse than it was in the 1990s, and how a culture of toxic positivity is destroying the very industry we love. I want to talk about the 1990s. Back then, making a video game was essentially Iron Man mode. You didn't have Unity or Unreal Engine 5 giving you photorealistic lighting out of the box. You were likely coding in assembly. You were fighting for every single kilobyte of RAM on a cartridge. And here's the kicker, you couldn't patch it. When a game went gold in the 1990s, that was it. It was printed on a disc, put in a box, and shipped to a store. If there was a game-breaking bug, if the level design was impossible, you better hope your QA tester caught it. Otherwise, too bad. There was no day one patch, there was no roadmap. The product had to be finished, period. And the feedback loop, almost non-existent. Developers didn't know if players liked their game until sales numbers came in via fax machine 3 months later. Or maybe they read a letter to the editor in Electronic Gaming Monthly 6 weeks after launch. They were operating in the dark. They had to rely on instinct, rigorous playtesting, and a genuine fear of shipping a broken product because that broken product meant an unhappy customer, and an unhappy customer ultimately meant bankruptcy. There was no safety net. And yet, look at what they built. Games like Metal Gear Solid, Ocarina of Time, Final Fantasy VII. Some of the greatest games ever made came out in the 90s. They built masterpieces with a fraction of the resources and zero access to the audience's daily thoughts. So why is it that today, with almost infinite resources and often 100x the budget, we're getting games that feel less finished and feel less focused and ultimately less fun? Fast forward to 2026, developing a game is technically easier than it's ever been. Technology is soared, the tools are democratized. You don't even need to pay QA testers to test your game before launch. Just release your game full of bugs like you have the past 25 years and pass the QA testing position to the consumers. We'll pay $70 for your broken game disguised as feature complete so we can flood the comments online with criticism about the game's performance. And you can call us haters and grifters for calling out your malpractice in the public forum for a game we didn't ask for. The biggest advantage modern developers have is information. Going online, you're a login away from talking amongst the community and getting a pulse of what your potential players and customers are really into right now. We live in an era where the audience is screaming what they want 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You want to know what genre is trending? You want to know what art style players hate? You want to know why a mechanic isn't working? You can find that on X, on Google, on YouTube, Instagram, Discord, and Steam. And all you need is a phone. The answers are right there. It's an open book test. And you as a collective development team decide to put blindfolds on and shut your phones off to all the noise. Players are literally telling you, we're tired of hero shooters. We don't want $20 skins. We want single player narratives. And when you tell us you're doing something groundbreaking and new, it better be from an industry standard and not from an inner bubble perspective. And yet studios like Firewalk with Concord and Wildlight with Highguard seemingly looked at all this data and said, no, we know better. They stayed in their bubble. They ignored the cheat sheet. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars chasing a trend that died years ago and wondered why they lost 95% of their player base in less than 24 hours. Jeff Keighley gave you the ultimate promotion by presenting your game at the Game Awards in the final slot, and a perceptive group would have looked at the reception and overall response of your trailer and tell you something is seriously wrong. But you went and thought the silent treatment would be proof positive that the problem would just go away. And that's where you thought wrong. See, when you finally step out of your bubble and into reality, you quickly realize that when a body decides they aren't supporting a game, you're not changing their minds by ignoring it for a month. You should be humbled that Jeff generated a ton of interest in the game, because if you charged $40 for this disaster we're discussing would have been 100 times worse. This isn't bad timing, not at this point. This is willful ignorance. It's looking at a market that is begging for a steak and serving them a plate of cold tofu, and then getting mad when we don't eat it. In the 90s, you could be forgiven for missing a trend because you couldn't see it. But today, if you missed the mark, it's because you closed your eyes. This brings me to the root cause, the cancer eating the industry from the inside out, toxic positivity. We've created a culture in game development and in the media covering it where criticism is equated with hate. If you say, oh, I don't like this character design, you're labeled toxic. If you say this gameplay loop feels unrewarding, you're just a hater. So what happens inside the studio? Internal feedback dies. If a junior artist thinks the lead character looks unappealing, do they speak up? Of course not, because they don't want to be labeled negative. They don't want to not be a team player. So everyone smiles, everyone nods. They tell each other the game is great when really it isn't. They tell each other the audience will just get it when we never asked for it. They build a fortress of good vibes only. This is how you get a Concord. This is how you get a Highguard. Hundreds of people working for years and not one person with enough power and gusto to stand up and say, hey, you know what guys, this is not fun, it's not hitting. Or maybe they did say something and they were just silenced for being too toxic. This is the betrayal of the creative process. In my world of video editing or video post-production, if a cut isn't working, you have to say something. If the pacing drags, you have to fix it. You don't pat the editor on the back and say, oh, it's great the way it is because you're great the way you are. No, the work has to stand on its own. There are no participation trophies. Toxic positivity protects fragile egos, but it destroys products. It creates a delusional safe space that shatters the moment the game reaches the public. And when the bubble pops, our current developers don't even have the wherewithal to look inward. They lash out and they blame you for popping their balloon of fragility. The customer is not your enemy. The customer is your reality check. In 2026, the customer is always right doesn't mean I know how to code. It doesn't mean I know how to design. It simply means I know what I want to spend my time on. And if I don't want to spend it on your game, that is not a moral failing of the audience. That is a failure of your product to find a market. Creators need to learn that sales are the ultimate form of feedback. You can have the most diverse team, the most positive internal culture, and the best intentions in the world. But if the game isn't fun, if the art isn't appealing, if the price isn't right, none of that matters. If you don't know the audience you are building your game for, you are wasting our time and your company's resources. We need to return to a culture of honest critique. We need to stop coddling bad ideas in the name of positivity. Because real positivity, real passion, that looks like holding each other to a higher standard so we can make things that people actually love. Now I want to know where you stand on this. Is toxic positivity the reason we're seeing so many AAA failures in this industry, or is it something else? Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.